Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Dear Profiler Pat, where you send me your questions, ask for advice, and I give it. If you'd like me to answer your question, please do send an email to profilerpatbrown@gmail.com and put Dear Profiler Pat in the subject line. And if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe and check the playlist for different areas of interest that you might like advice in. Okay, now, this question seemed like a simple one when it came in. There's like, but you're going to see what I mean when it's a little more complicated. It's basically, how do you schedule an event for a group and get them all to show up? So this is the email to me. Dear Profiler Pat, how do you schedule a Sunday brunch at noon at a local restaurant for 10 people max and get them to agree? In my experience, people respond by wanting a different day, time of day, location, etc., or they just simply have other plans. Out of 10 people, it seems very difficult to get 3 to agree. What are your thoughts? And then she says something nice. Thank you, Pat. Love your show. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay. First of all, you pointed out the truth that if you ask people what time, what location, what do you want to eat, you are going to go around in circles and you're never going to get anywhere because everybody's going to come up with something different and nobody's going to ever agree on the same thing. And so you're just going to drive yourself nuts. So can you ask 10 people without consulting them? Simply send them an email and say, hey, I'm scheduling a luncheon at such and such a place, 11 o'clock on Sunday. Really look forward to you being there. I hope you can come. And then you go and you just see how many people show up. Maybe you say, let me know, you're coming, you're not coming. But you might have to be kind of ready for maybe a smaller table, which maybe that's okay in the long run. If you end up only 4 people, you have a nice lunch. Just don't have your huge expectations if, a good portion of people can't make it. Because it is very difficult in a busy society for people to have the available time. It's very hard to work out. You always, generally speaking, have to invite a lot more people than you want to show up to get enough people to feel comfortable. It's like, oh, this is a success, And this is not just true for getting people together for lunch. This could be having a dinner party at your house. It could be having a regular party at your house. You're just inviting a whole bunch of people to a party at your house. And if not enough of them come, it's going to be a very dull party. And I had a really bad experience when I was just with my, I think it was, I don't know if I was just married, but anyway, living in an apartment, and I decided to have a party. So we invited 30 people, which seemed pretty good. The problem was, I think we scheduled the party for like 8 o'clock at night. And the people we invited came from different cultures. There were white Americans, there were Black Americans, and there were Jamaicans. and the white Americans showed up at 8 o'clock, and the Black Americans showed up at 10 o'clock, and the Jamaicans showed up at midnight. And consequently, the first group arrived, and they got, after an hour, they're like, hey, this is a boring party. There's only so many of us here. There's only 10 of us or less here. And so they left, and then the next group showed up and said, where are all the people? By the time the Jamaicans showed up at midnight, they were just the Jamaicans. So it was like a humiliating experience. Didn't go well. So I was like, what should I have done? Should I have told the Jamaicans that the party was at 4, and then the Black Americans party's at 6, and the white Americans party was 8, and then maybe they would have all shown up at 8 o'clock. So that can be a problem. You have to know who you're inviting and what works for the group you're inviting, culturally or time-wise or availability. So if you've got a group of people who, let's say you want to have a luncheon, and you've got people who are a lot of people working, and they work weekends, maybe they're on call to the hospital or whatever, for them to be there is, on the other hand, if the people let's say you've got a lot of homemakers in the group or retired people, you might get a bigger crowd more easily. So you have to look at your group and know whether, they're the type that have the availability, at least a better chance. If you pick a date, they'll be able to come. The next thing would be Do these people like each other? This is an important question. A lot of times people don't want to go to certain events because they really don't care about the other people there. Either they don't like them, or they're not comfortable with them, or maybe they're all strangers to them. I'm like, yeah, do I really want to go there and talk to a bunch of people I don't know? Nah. So you also have to look at your group. Are they going to have fun together? Do they know each other? It's like, oh, I wouldn't want to miss that, because if I don't go, oh man, I'm going to be missing out on hanging out with my friends. They're all going to have fun without me. That's the kind of group you really want, whether you invite them to a restaurant or you invite them to your home. Now, the next thing is, when you look at the actual event, you do have to look at what you're offering. Um, if you're going to a restaurant, who's paying? If you're paying, more people will show up. If they're paying, they may think, I don't have the money this week for that. If they're paying, you have to decide what kind of restaurant you want to invite them to as a group. If it's too expensive, people won't come. If you go real cheap and then people go, I hate the food there, they don't want to come either. And if you're paying for the restaurant, hey guys, I'm going to take all 10 of you out for lunch, and you pick a really great restaurant, they might show up for sure. I mean, somebody invited me out to a 5-star restaurant. I will find a way to be there because they're paying for it. I'm going to oh yeah, so again, you have to know your group. What kind of food do they like? Who's paying? How much can they afford? How much, all that kind of thing all comes into play. If you're having a gathering at your house, dinner at your house, do they like your cooking? You might, if you suck at cooking, you'll find, I don't know why nobody will come to my house. I'm going to make this nice dinner for them. They go, if you had food before, it's terrible. They don't want to show up. So you want to make sure that if you're a good cook and people love your cooking, again, they wouldn't want to miss that. And then type of food again. Obviously, if you have a lot of vegetarian friends, invite them to a pork roast. It's not going to go well. If you have meat-eating friends and you tell them, I'm making a wonderful vegetarian dinner, they will not show. I guarantee you, because I have a bunch of meat-eating kids, and I try to cook vegetarian food, and they're just not thrilled. They aren't. But their dad comes into town and makes curry goat, and they're all like, so I don't inspire people to come to my house when I make vegetarian dishes. Also, do they like spicy food or not spicy food? If you're going to have an unusual dinner, let's say you're going to have a spicy South Indian food, and you got a bunch of Minnesotans who think a red pepper, and I mean the big ones, are spicy, a red bell pepper, they're not going to go for the food. And on the other hand, if you have people who love, foods from other countries, and you're inviting them over to have some boiled meat and a couple potatoes, again, they may not want to come. So I mean, it's not like people. It seems like they only will come if it's exactly what they want. But let's face it, people are attracted to what they enjoy. If they enjoy your company, they're more likely to come. If depending on, again, who your significant other might be, who the people might be that are there, they will make a decision based on that. So you have to know your people. You have to know their tastes. If you're going to do like a potluck type thing, and therefore theoretically, first of all, you don't get stuck with all the cooking, and secondly, everybody can bring something that they themselves will eat, and then everybody will enjoy sharing. Again, it depends on your group. Some people are like, oh God, not a potluck. I don't cook hardly at all anymore. I don't want to have to cook something. And then, everybody goes out and gets potato salad. And then you have to make a list of who's bringing what, so you don't get that problem. So all these things can be tricky. A party. What kind of party? A party with alcohol or without alcohol? If you don't have alcohol, do people get upset that there's an alcohol? People don't like places where people get drunk and act stupid and think, oh, there's too much alcohol there, I don't want to go. Again, pay attention to who you're dealing with, who your friends are, who you're inviting. I personally think it's too much work. So I really tend us to get together with a friend. One friend, we go to a restaurant together. We go someplace together, because I'm just too lazy to try to do the whole gathering thing. I did, when my kids were growing up, I did have some birthday parties. I did do I did do a New Year's party every year. I did do that for some reason, and it seemed to go well. But I had a lot of families with children, so they were always looking for a place to take their kids. It's like, oh God, yeah, that'll be great. We could take our kids to her house. So again, I had something attractive, which was get out of my own house with those children. And so I tended to get people to come because they were bringing children. I didn't do well with all adult parties. That's just me. But I've had friends who give great parties. When I lived in Minnesota, I had a lot of Indian friends, and they know how to throw a party. And since they're inviting all Indians, except for me, I was a non-Indian, but they're inviting all their Indian friends. They knew what to expect. They love Indian food, and they cook great food. So it was going to be Indian food. There's not going to be a question what you're going to eat. It's going to be Indian food. And then you got dressed up in saris and stuff, and you had this wonderful time. You play little fun games and things, and everybody was I would go to every Indian party I could because I really loved it. So anyway, think about what is the purpose of what you're doing, who's coming, what are they going to enjoy, and you're going to have to figure that out. But yeah, you got to make it so that the chances of success are higher. And also just accept that if you're going to invite a whole bunch of people at a specific time, maybe you're going to end up with a smaller group. And that's the way it goes. Anyway, thank you for being here. If you're new to the channel, again, please do like and subscribe, and send along your comments. Bye.